today we're going to be using Wi-Fi to talk with the ESP32 and the phone together. So the first thing you want to do is include this Wi-Fi library. By the way, we're in the Arduino IDE. This should be already included with the ESP32 package. Now, there are two ways to implement Wi-Fi. One is as a station where you can connect to your router, which connects to other devices, and one is as an access point where other devices connect to you, sort of like a router. Now, access point can be really memory intensive, but it's good when you don't have a Wi-Fi network nearby. In this case, we're going to use the station mode. So first, I'm going to define two variables. One is the SSID of the local network. So you're going to want to fill this in with the actual SSID. And then there's also the password. So of course you're going to want to fill this with the actual password. Then we're going to want to start the server, initialize the server on a new port, port 80. So we're going to write Wi-Fi server parentheses 80. Now let's work in setup. This is going to be called once, so we're going to have to initialize a few things. First, let's begin the serial monitor. Then let's give it a little bit of a delay for it to start working. Now we need to choose the mode we're going to use for Wi-Fi. Now the station mode is actually the default, so we actually don't need this line here, but I'm going to add it anyways just to make it clear. And now we want to connect to the network. To do this, we do Wi-Fi.begin, and we pass in two things: the SSID, which we defined above, and the password. Now this is going to take some time to connect, so while it's not connecting, we want to have a while loop. So while Wi-Fi.status. So this is going to return like a status number of the connection. So we want it to stop when the status is of connected. So while it's not equals to WL/connected, this is just another word that's included. That's the status for connection. And what we want to do while that's happening is we want to serial.print a dot, and then we want to give a little bit of a delay, maybe 500 milliseconds. Okay, now the Wi-Fi is connected, but before we do anything else, let's remember to set the LED on the ESP32 to an output. So the way we're going to be using Wi-Fi is to turn on and off the inbuilt LED on the dev board. So to do that, first we have to make that an output. So that's pin 2, that's what it's connected to, and we want to set that to output. And then now we're just going to digital write you're going to write to pin 2, and we're going to write the signal low. This is just going to make sure it's off when we start. Now we want to print the IP address. So this is important. You'll see later why this is important. And then to get the Wi-Fi address, we do Wi-Fi dot, remember to capitalize the F in all of these, local IP parentheses. This is going to give us the IP address of our ESP32. And then finally, we do server.begin. This starts the server. We need parentheses. Okay, now we move on to the loop. So first, let's check let's check if there's any new people that connected to a server. To do that, we do Wi-Fi client equals server.available. Now this is going to constantly run, and if it sees a new client, it's going to save that in a variable. If not, this client variable is just going to be false. So in order to check if we have a client, we could just do if client. Now let's just print out that we have a new client. And then let's define a new variable, string capital S request equals blank. I'll explain why we need this later. So now we do while the client is connected, so client dot connected parentheses, and then now curly braces, if the client is available, so client dot available. Then what we want to do is we want to read the request coming from the client. It's going to be an HTTP request. So, but it's not coming all at once. It's going to come one character at a time. So to read it, we have to constantly append it to this variable request. So the way that works is we just want to do char c equals client dot read. So this is just going to be a character that is coming from the client. And now we want to add that to our request. So request plus equals c. So slowly, once the request comes in, it's going to build up. But we don't need the whole request. All we need to know is where the user wants to go, whether it wants to go to the on directory or the off directory. So all makes sense later, but we only need the first part. So we can just end as soon as we see a line break. So if c equals line break, which means that the first part ended of the request, we could just break because we don't need anything else now. Now outside this while loop, we want to handle the requests and also send back our own HTML. So if request, which remember is the first part of the request sent back, dot index of get /on. So is not equal to -1. So this index of function, what it does is it finds where this is in this. If it's not, it's going to return -1. So we want it, all we need to know is that this is in this. So if it's not equal to -1, that's all the information we need. So now we want to handle the get request if the user is trying to on the thing. So of course we're going to on the LED. So digital write to hi and serial.print line LED is on. Okay, now we want to do something similar for offing it. So else if request.index of get, make sure the get is capitalized, off, not equal to -1. So then we're gonna digital write to, we're gonna write it low since we want to off it, and then serial dot print line LED is on. Sorry, off. Now, that's actually not everything we need to do. There's a few other things we need to do. So the browser doesn't know that we're actually there unless we send back a request that says everything is okay. So in order to send back this request, what we're going to do is client dot print line HTTP /1.1. This is just the version of HTTP we're using. And then the code for everything is okay is 200. Maybe just write it okay afterwards. So now what is this? What this is doing is it's just sending back to the browser that everything is okay in the server and that everything happened fine. So let's see this actually in action. I'm going to pull up a live stream of the ESP32 as well as a web server, and let's connect this. So we're connecting it here, and now we're gonna upload it. Okay, so we got an error. That's actually my bad. It's not index of, it's index capital O of. So and oh, I also made like a really stupid mistake at the top, just all the way at the top. This thing where it says password, it's not SSIS, it's password. Apologize. And then that should be everything. So now we want to upload. Okay. So now that it's done uploading, I'm going to open up the serial monitor, monitor. And we're going to want to press reset on the ESP32 in order for it to load. So just press reset. And we can see all of this gibberish almost. But you can see those dots, which shows it's connecting, and this IP address. So just copy that IP address, and you want to go to your browser, I'm using Safari, and just copy paste this into the search bar. And load it. It says new client here. Okay, sometimes you have to do it twice. And you're going to see nothing. That's correct. We didn't load anything. So in order to send that request that you want on and off, we actually want to go into the search bar and do slash. And I'm going to also pull up the ESP32 and we're just going to type on. And you can see right there that it turned on. We didn't even have to press enter because browsers these days are already fetching it before you press enter. They're kind of guessing what you're gonna go to. And we can also do off and turns off. On, turns on. And this is talking all through the router and through Wi-Fi. Now this is kind of boring. You have to go to the search bar and type everything in. So we can actually make things a little bit better by sending back some HTML. So doing that, it's a little bit of syntax, but so we're going to do client.print line. We do content type is colon and then text /HTML. And now we want to print a new line. Blank line, and then we want to start the HTML document. So we're going to do that using doc type HTML. So this way, so that just says, so this says that the next stuff is going to be HTML, and this starts the HTML. Now, then we want to start the HTML. So I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm going to have an HTML tag. Then I'm going to have a body tag. Then I'm going to have an H1 tag. And I'm going to say LED is, well, LED control. And then I'm going to close that H1 tag. And then I'm going to do another line, just to keep things neat. And I'm going to have a link. So A is the code for link, then href equals, and here's the weird part. So you can't just do /on because that's where you want to go, right? Well, these quotation marks over here, they trick the code to thinking that this is one string and this is another. So you have to escape these by writing a slash behind them. It's a little bit weird, but this is the only thing that's going to count it. This is not counted, the final thing. And then we want to put the name being turn LED on. And then we close the A tag. And we want to do that again. So we're going to do href equals, remember, slash, then we're going to do off, and then another slash. It's really weird, but that's the way it is. Then turn LED on, off. And then finish the A tag. And finally, we can end the body tags and the HTML tag. So in the body and the HTML. So this looks a little bit cryptic for people who haven't done any HTML, and it's totally optional too, but you'll see what it does. It's pretty cool. We forgot some lines at the bottom. So these are pretty important, so you probably don't want to forget them. We're going to do delay 1 to let the computer get the message, just a short delay, and then client.stop. And yeah, you're going to also want to put this, this just stops the client and lets the computer get the response. And I forgot a semicolon. Okay. So it's loaded. Let's go back to the serial monitor. Okay, so it's connected really quickly. The IP address is actually the same, so we don't have to copy paste anything else. Let's go back here. Let's just go to root directory now. It's going to be the same no matter what, because we're not wrapping this in some if statement. And then click, and we see two buttons, turn LED on and turn LED off. Let me bring in my ESP32. Let me turn it off. Turn it on. Okay, so the thing is, you have to click it twice. That's a little bit of a problem with these web servers. It's because we're cutting off the request too early, so the browser gets a little bit confused. Now that's outside the scope of this video, but we could turn the LED off and on just from this computer. So I think that's it. Thank you. Goodbye.